Hello, everyone, and welcome back to On the Curbs IndyCar Edition. I'm your host, Nate Woods, and we're back here to review the latest round of the 2026 IndyCar season, straight from the LBC Long Beach, California. I am joined once again by my co-host, Mr. Thiemo Albers-Daly. Thiemo, how are we doing?
Pretty good, thank you, Mr. Woods. How about yourself?
I'm doing real good. We have finally made it. We've got all of these other races out of the way, and now we can get to the month of May.
Yep, it's the countdown officially starts now.
That's right. Officially, we have, let's see, 18 days, 10 hours, 25 minutes, and 56 seconds. But,
I
who's
knew you'd
counting?
have your timer just on hand for such an occasion.
Check local listings. But yeah, no, um, we had a race this weekend.
Hmm. I
I
think that's
uh,
that's that's what we can just about
I
call it. I
think we
think
can
it
pretty
was it was
much
very
just,
processional. It felt like a couple of
yeah.
drivers tried their best to make it interesting for us, but it
Mhm.
isn't classic. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, no, the race this weekend definitely left me wanting more, but knowing that there wasn't much more to give.
Felt like the sort of race I was worried about us having at the start of the season
Mhm,
because of Palou and his domination last year, what Chip Ganassi had been saying about him only just getting started.
mhm.
Were we in for our version of Formula One's 2023 season? Fortunately, that hasn't been the case so far, but this was not a good indicator of completely avoiding it because we then had this style of racing where he didn't need to win, and ultimately it didn't make too much difference if he did or not. Second place would have still been perfectly good. Fourth place would have still
Yep.
been very good for him. Uh, so it's the other thing of it would have been lovely for Rosenquist to clinch the victory, but he's not fighting for the championship. So even if he had done, it wouldn't have made any difference to the overall championship standings in the sense of it would probably hurt Palou's competitors more than it would hurt him. And in the end, it didn't hurt him at all because he won the race.
Are you already writing off drivers in the championship?
Yeah,
We're only five races in, man.
I think there's five at least I
Ro-
could probably count
Ro-
off, and Rosenquist is probably the biggest name of those five, I will admit,
He's
but
only
I don't see it
96
happening.
points. It's only 96 points out of first place.
And this would be a brilliant story so that I can clip this, come back to it in August, September time, and then be kind of looking very humble with all the humble pie I've had to eat. I don't know if this is his year, mate. I just don't know if this is his year.
Yeah, you know, Alex Palou won the race. We'll just, we'll mention that, get that out of the way. He took over the points lead,
Hmm.
and Kyle Kirkwood is 17 points back. And then third place, you have David Malukas, who
Third
hasn't
place
won
just
a,
seems to keep rotating.
yeah. Um, David Malukas in third is already a full race behind Alex Palou in the points. So
And
I
you're
have a feeling
questioning
this is
why I'm ruling some people out.
uh, not a good look for the series, as far as being able to have a championship fight on their hands. Um,
Yeah, it's a little bit of a contradictory thing, isn't it? Because on the one hand, I still firmly believe that almost any of the drivers on the grid could win a race given the proper
Absolutely.
circumstances. You saw that in Phoenix.
Mhm.
Completely unexpected coming into the weekend to say that Joe's new gun would win there. However, that's different than for a championship battle because Kirkwood and McLaughlin, they've in particular come out and said we just need to be consistent, and that is how we stay in this championship fight.
Mhm.
Admittedly, more so at the moment for Kirkwood than for McLaughlin. But
Yeah.
even with a top five finish as consistent as Kirkwood is doing, it's not enough when the guy that you're going up against pretty much just wins or is still on the podium 90% of the time.
Yeah.
If you're doing top five finishes, but he's doing top three finishes, the maths isn't going to math
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. And it gives that weird thing of, yeah, anyone can win a race, but when it comes to the championship, forget about it.
Mhm. Yeah. Interesting statistic that I heard during the broadcast was Alex Palou has won 11 of the last 22 races. So going back to the season opener last
It's
season,
literally
he's won
50-50.
he's won half the races. And I've got some interesting statistics coming up at the end of the episode for you on what we might be able to expect going into May.
Oh, please don't test me on any of them. I'm not going to get any of them correct. I guarantee it now.
This will be an easy one. Don't worry. So the race itself, like I mentioned, was just kind of it wasn't boring because I think
It
Long
felt a little
Beach
bit, to borrow your phrase, milk toast.
milk toast. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily boring because Long Beach is a really exciting track. Um,
Hmm,
you've got high speed sections, you've got ultra low speed, you get that turn 11 that
hmm.
everybody slows down to 30 miles per
It's
hour,
it still
31
amazes
miles
me
per
that
hour.
you can have photographers and camera people there without any apparent
Yeah,
protection at
yeah.
all,
You
because it's
literally
just
could reach out
weirdly
and
this
touch.
anomaly of safe zone.
Yeah, you just reach out and touch a car as it goes by. We had one caution flag in the race, which was for debris. I don't know if we ever got word on exactly whose car it came off of. There was a couple names during the broadcast that they said possibly Armstrong or
Hmm.
Christian Lundgaard's car were the two names that I heard, but I never heard definitively whose car that came off of. But short of that one debris caution, that was it.
Which was the first caution at Long Beach in 214 odd laps or so. It was first time
Yeah,
since what, 2024. So it
2024.
again, it's this contradictory thing we're going back to with the championship. You can have an exciting race at Long Beach, you can have exciting races, but sometimes not much happens. But in this instance, it depends on how you define excitement. And I think this was one where you definitely had to alter your definition of it unless you're an ultimate endurance fan. And even then, that's not necessarily why you're watching IndyCar. With the exception of Newgarden throwing a very left field strategy at the race. Not much else happened until maybe the last 5-10 laps when you saw the rear of the field really all suddenly close up on each other and
Mhm.
start hustling away, and you're wondering how that suddenly all just started to merge. And then you run out of laps and you can't really see that develop into anything. And you go, well,
Yeah,
okay then.
yeah,
Even the pit stop, as exciting as that was, to see the entire field essentially come in at the same time.
right.
There was a moment that was a bit controversial or a bit dramatic, let's say, that we'll
Mhm.
talk about. But aside from that, nothing even there. Sort of everyone just did their jobs. There wasn't like a dramatic Colton Herta style pit stop where you go, why?
Yeah,
You had a bit of an issue with Rosenquist, but again, it wasn't something calamitous where you go, I can't
right.
believe that happened.
Yeah,
It was a bit of a slow stop. So
yeah.
you get to the end of the race and you go, eh,
It's amazing to believe that an 8.7 second stop is what we're now considering a slow stop.
it is for me. I'm still in F1 mind.
Yeah, yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
If it's
In
above
my
4, I write it off immediately.
yeah, in my tire changing days or day, as it might have been, uh, 10 seconds was considered unthinkable. So, a 10-second stop. So, um, yeah, it was just the race itself didn't lend much to the imagination. In the early stages of the race, I'd say the first half of the race, the tire strategy that Joseph Newgarden was on, you could tell that the commentators were really kind of hitching their wagon to that
You
storyline
saw so
and
much of you
and
Garden down in
hoping,
21st, more than you
yes,
would have expected to see.
yes, yeah. If they would give Stingray Rob that kind of recognition for being a 21st, then I think we'd both be happy.
We'd definitely be having a slightly different conversation right now, that's for certain.
Yeah. But during that caution, I mean, everybody, every single car hit pit road, and that's a pretty narrow pit road and kind of lends itself to some dangerous things that might be able to happen. And unfortunately, we did see one incident during that pit stop with Will Power
It
tagging
was one of
one of
those,
Kyle Collette's team members.
yeah, it was one of those situations where I can understand why Power got the penalty that he did. but it's not really on him. It's sort of on Long Beach for not having
Mhm.
a wider pit
Yeah.
lane. It's a temporary street circuit. You can't say that you can't alter that from one year to the next. Because if you really wanted to, you could, in the same way that in Arlington next year, they're gonna have to for certain areas of that track as well, because there were issues there as well. So I'm surprised something like that hasn't happened sooner. It was good that it wasn't too serious an injury, I don't think, from what we saw and what we heard afterwards. Second injury of the weekend for a crew member. I don't know if you saw the team spotlight, the crew member spotlight during the race itself, where George was
Y-
talking to, I can't remember whose team it was now, but when the tire gun, I think, sliced into the arm of one of
Yes.
the
Oh,
pit crew
yeah.
members,
Yeah.
and I was it took me a moment to kind of figure out what she was saying about the kind of injury and how it happened. And then when I realized that, ooh, that's quite
Yeah.
grim, actually.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he's bandaged up and I don't have to see it looks like
Yeah.
he's been mauled by some kind of saber tooth. Um, but again, that's the sort of incident that you can't do too much about. That's just a random thing that happens from time to time. But in the terms of the collect, remember, just make the pit
Yeah.
lane wider. There's no need for it to be. No,
Well,
there's no one racing down the start finish straight anyway.
you're kind of limited on those street courses on where the pit lane can be, and
Hmm.
you know,
But I'm saying just make it like a foot wider or something,
I
grand
I
scheme of things, you
I
can
think
work out
I
how
think
to
they've
make that
got
happen.
that unless the city of Long Beach comes through and rebuilds the median and the road. I don't know if they can make it any wider than what they've got. Um,
Well, there's a will, there's a way.
yeah,
And there was a
they
will.
yeah, there was a will involved in there. That going back to Will Power and his penalty, you know, if this was at if this would have happened at Indianapolis or Detroit, a bigger race or a race where the pit lane is massive, you know, um, I think it probably would have been a lot harsher penalty. I think there was
Hmm.
probably some leeway given there because the officials knew that, all right, we're at one of the narrowest pit roads
And
in,
it's not like he would have done it deliberately either. What
right.
advantage are you gaining from running
Yeah.
someone over in an IndyCar?
Yeah. You've got, you know, 20 cars on pit road all at once, or 22, I think is what was on pit road at that point in time.
Hmm.
And all coming to pit road all at once and trying to get out all at once. And just an unfortunate racing incident on pit road. Um, but I think
Says
if
a
that
lot
would have
about the
been
race when one of the more exciting talking points was in the pit lane rather
somebody
than
got their foot
back
run
on the
over,
track.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but as we mentioned, Alex Plo won 4 seconds over Felix Rosenquist, where Felix led a big chunk of the race and just came out behind Alex Palou on that last pit stop. And this is a
That
track
was
that
that.
rewards being in clean air. So that was all she wrote. Scott Dixon finishing third, which was a nice podium for him. First podium of the year, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. And so after what you said, I think back in Big Barber, maybe Arlington, I can't remember, about Marcus Armstrong's intro in the title sequence where they're going through the grid. I don't know if you spotted Scott Dixon's slightly different one this time round.
I didn't.
I'm Scott Dixon, but you can call me Sir Scott Dixon. I've been recently
Mm.
knighted.
Oh, yes, yes, I did catch that. Yeah. And they did call him Sir Scott a couple times during the
They
broadcast.
did.
Yeah. I'm glad that
That's
they're
the respect he
recognizing.
deserves
That's
for
right.
his
Let's
caliber.
take a bow. But let's get into the team by team analysis. Team Penske, Joseph Newgarden, which we touched on briefly, who had kind of the alternate strategy for the race that didn't quite pan out.
And so
Qualify
saying he qualified in 14th and finishing 14th does not tell his story.
does not tell his story at all. Scott McLaughlin managed to move up 2 spots from eighth to sixth, and David Lucas fell back 2 spots, fifth to seventh. Um, how do you feel about the team, this effort that they had this weekend?
A little bit better for Newgarden. And I'm not entirely sure what happened to him in qualifying. I watched the highlights and get the chance to check it out live, but it just looked like he didn't have the pace to put in a lap when it counted. So unfortunate. I can see why he decided and the team decided to throw the strategy sort of out the window and go for a bit of a Hail Mary. it was looking like it was working for a hot minute there,
Yeah.
over a second a lap quicker than everyone else at points. And
Yeah.
it was a big ask, but you thought even if he just finishes in 10th, say, or in
Mhm.
just anywhere above 14th,
Mhm.
it's a success, and you just
Right.
continue to measure it by the level of success that it had. So for then it to ultimately peter out, I suppose the best thing about it is that at least he didn't lose any positions. But a bit of a busy day at the office for not an awful lot of reward. McLaughlin and Lucas, solid. I'm glad McLaughlin's kind of having this quiet performing sort of race where he moves up a couple of spots. As we mentioned earlier, he and Kirkwood have talked about the importance of consistency. I don't know if it's going to be enough or a high enough result of consistency for them to be the threat they want to be, but I like that they're at least doing what they set out to do and achieving an acceptable level of consistency. It's not
Yeah.
sort of we're going to be consistent, and then you have turned up going P20 for
Yeah.
four races in a row. Uh, Malukas, yeah, I think what was it? He got pipped by was it Palou maybe, or did Palou start ahead of him? Palou started ahead of him, I think actually. But he just fell down slightly. But again, seventh isn't too bad. He was in the mix for a while, and again,
Mhm.
clean air is king, as you say. So I'm not too disappointed with how their racing went. The one driver where there could have been something to really gain from. They tried something, it didn't
Mhm.
work. I'm glad they tried something. It wasn't their
Yeah.
fault. It didn't pan out. On
Yeah.
the other two, it's kind of where you want them to be. It's
Yeah.
surprisingly happy, I think,
Yeah.
with Team Penske for once.
This was a hard team to really give analysis for, other than maybe McLaughlin or Newgarden with his strategy that they were trying. I mean, Scott McLaughlin. I mean, for somebody who finished sixth in the race, how many times did they mention him during the broadcast?
Who knows we even
Once,
saw him, never
twice,
mind mentioned.
right? And you know, it was just kind of a super quiet day for Scott McLaughlin, um, which is good. I mean, that kind of falls into that consistency that he's been working on this season. Um, but gonna need to do more than that. You gotta be a little less quiet. But
I think it's just tricky at a track like Long Beach, though. Like you say, clean air is king there, and you are sort of semi-relying on safety cars coming out, cautions to happen, so you can take advantage. And none of that really happened. You got one caution
right.
flag, and everyone just put it at the same time. What are you supposed
Yeah.
to do with that?
Yep. Yep. Can't do anything with it. Arrow McLaren, Pato Ward qualifying second, finishing fifth. Christian Lundgaard with uh, unfortunate day, qualifying 11th, finishing 20th. And then kind of on the flip side of that coin, Nolan Siegel qualifying dead last and finishing P12. For
We'll
me,
get to no good sequel.
yeah, yeah, for me, Award, he on that green flag drop at the beginning of the race, him getting jumped, um, kind of just, I think, set the tone for the day for him.
Yeah,
Just, I don't know whether he just got caught out and was not expecting to get past, or it was one of the very few on track passes we saw all day.
it happened in the
And it
first
happened
10 seconds, essentially.
yeah. And, you're like, oh, this is going to be an exciting race. And then we don't see any other on track passes except for Joseph Newgarden in the back. So,
Award very much felt like when you have a strong character in a film and you're introducing a villain and you need to show how terrible the villain is in terms of the calamity he caused and how quickly he dispatches of one of your strong characters. And that was Award essentially going, hey, I'm in second place. I can go for this. And then immediately, bam, no, you're gone.
yeah,
Oh dear,
yeah.
this is a serious threat.
Yeah, Lundgaard, he had what could have been a top 10 day for him. I think he had the car for it after qualifying 11th, but had some tire issues that they were reporting, and I can't remember if it was on the
It was
first
a
tire set or
maybe a
the
right
second tire.
puncture or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, they were talking about graining on
Mm.
I think it was his left front pretty early on in the race. So I'm not sure if they just had a bad tire, or if he happened to clip somebody, early on, and that
You
caused
saw how
a
close they got to
uh,
the wall coming out of what was it, turn 6 or 7. There's so many times where they're just kissing that wall and the advertising's coming off each time. It could have just been a touch that you just about get away with, but then it impacts you in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. And then our boy Nolan Siegel.
There was nothing. Oh boy, your boy's big one. I don't know if I want to claim that just yet.
Our biggest mover of the day, moving up to 12th place from the rear of the field, which that's got to be a pretty big confidence boost going into May.
I'm conflicted on this one because on the one hand, yeah, great to go from 25th to 12th. When we see people not finishing inside the top 10, you maybe forget the improvement that they made over the course of a race. Would have been nice to see some of Siegel's overtakes because I don't think we saw any of them on the
I don't think we
broadcast.
did either.
Um, but at the same time, you crash during qualifying, and I know that that happens to the best of drivers, but still, you qualified dead last, you finished 12th. You're there to finish inside the top 10 in points, as they keep reminding us on the commentary by Tony Kanaan. And you can overtake as many people as you want, but if you're not getting enough points to finish inside the top 10, it's not going to do you too much good. I think maybe focus on just not crashing in qualifying because it was such a small sort of hit in
Right.
qualifying as well that screwed him then. Um, I don't know if I would have preferred a proper full-on crash where the car just goes out from under you, can't control it, rather than it's just one of those things that you can sort of train yourself to not do. Um, so yeah, you know what, I might let you have it, but at the same time, it just I don't know if we should be celebrating um,
Well, you,
place for a
you
driver that should
said,
have started there.
you mentioned, they are, Nolan Siegel's been reminded he has to finish in the top 10 in points. Currently sitting 23rd in points,
I
but
was worried for a second that you were going to say he was like 11th or 12th. Like, damn,
no,
he's
no,
somehow up there.
but he is less than one race worth of points behind Graham Rahal in 10th place.
All he's got to do is win Sonsio and hope that Graham and a few others
Yeah,
around his position in the championship don't score.
yeah, yeah. That is one way to look at it, but also we could also look at it as Sonsio is also one of Graham Rahal's best tracks. So
I was thinking this as I was saying this and going, it's a big ask at the best of times, mate, but I don't know if Sonsio's the best venue to go
yeah.
for that.
Andretti Global, uh, willpower, we talked about him and his penalty, qualifying seventh and finishing 19th, which, quite honest, I don't want, I can't be upset with power. He has struggled this season, pretty much the entire season. But I think this is just one of those racing circumstances. It wasn't anything that he did wrong. It wasn't anything that the team did wrong. I think it was just under the circumstances of the track that we were at. Somebody was going to end up getting a penalty like that, and he was the one.
I want the next IndyCar behind the scenes video to be Power and Schumacher in a dive bar somewhere, just lamenting all of the bad luck that they've had between the two of them this season so far. It's going, geez, what do we got to do, man? We got to go and have a purge of something. We got to get all this kind of supernatural elements out of our system because this is not on.
Kyle Kirkwood did what he needed to do to a certain extent, I feel like, to remain consistent. Qualified fourth, finished fourth. Um, there was a point in the day where I think he probably could have gained a position. After that restart, when Dixon restarted third, it felt like, okay, we're gonna finally see something. We're gonna see a
It
pass.
reminded me a little bit of Lucas and Rahal in Barber going, you could get that podium. Why are
Yeah,
you waiting so long to start going after it?
right.
And
And
then you run out of time. We go, oh, all right.
yeah. Well, and I think we saw this in the last race as well, where a driver had an enormous amount of push to pass left.
Oh, so also
And
Lucas.
yeah, Lucas, yeah. And just couldn't use it because we were, you know, 30 laps or 28 laps into a 30 lap run at that point, and fuel was low and you just can't use it. I'm not sure. I get why you save that push to pass because if something happens where there's a late caution and the field gets bunched up,
Hmm.
you're now sitting pretty, with all of that push to pass left to use with what might be 3 or 4 laps left in a race. But more often than not, I mean, we're finding in this series, look at last season where we went, what, 6 races, 7 races
I
without a
would say
caution?
like, the majority of St. Petersburg all the way until midway through Sonsio.
Right. And so, you know, statistically, it pays to not save those push to pass. But if you have it at the end of the race and it works out, then you're sitting pretty.
I suppose a
Uh,
little bit like Newgarden, he didn't lose anything out of it. He started fourth,
that's
he finished
true.
fourth
Yeah.
with solid points on the board. It would have been nice to get P3 again. We'll look back at the end of the season. Let's say Palou wins the championship, and we pot up how many points are the difference between him and Kirkwood. If we assume that Kirkwood's in second, and we go, okay, we can never pinpoint one moment that was more detrimental than others. It's a series of moments that add up. Maybe this would be one of them where you go, okay, there's a handful of points that you could have had here. Then if you added them to some other moments in the season, would have contributed. So it's interesting. Again, he's still being so consistent this year that it's a step up. It feels like from last year, and he's not taking too many unnecessary risks so far,
Mhm.
and he's not been caught up in an incident that Palou's been caught up in. If you look at Phoenix, so he's just keeping his head down, thinking maybe the long game can work, and if
Yeah.
Palou finds himself in another incident or two for whatever reason, Palou hasn't still nailed qualifying completely. He still has a few qualifying sessions where he's a bit out of position, whereas Kirkwood just sort of seems to do what McLaughlin did this weekend and just go, please don't anyone take notice of me. I'm happy to just
Yeah.
ride it out and let's just see if this strategy can work in the long term.
Yeah. Well, and we also have to remember, this is around the point in the season last year where we were having the same conversation about Kirkwood. He was kind of that one driver that was put in the fight to Palou, and then the wheels fell off the cart, and he had
I'm aware of this, as I said, and I don't want to look into that too deep.
maybe he's learned from last season.
I hope so.
A driver that we would hope maybe learn a little bit more from last season was Marcus Ericsson, qualifying 15th and finishing last and 25th.
Qualifying, I
Um,
will say, did let him down, but it wasn't
yeah,
really on him this time. The hybrid, he had an issue with it, didn't seem to come back from that. But Kirkwood
yeah,
apparently had the same issue in the warm up, and they had to change elements in the car there.
yeah.
So I think that's just a case of car letting him down, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know how far he would have gone up the order from 15th. I mean, it's still not a great starting position, but um, there's only so much you can do as a driver in that situation, I think.
Yeah. Chip Ganassi Racing, of course, Alex Palou, we know is our race winner starting third. Scott Dixon made it into the Fast Six, qualified sixth, and finished on the podium in third. And then Kiffin Simpson, a great story.
Yeah.
uh, Qualified ninth, finished also in the top 10 and P10. Um, yeah, what do you think?
Dixon, if anyone was to knock willpower out of qualifying, I'm glad it was Dixon and not someone else because it was such a last minute cheeky lap from him to
Yeah,
just go, all
it
right, I'll
really
just go in
was.
here and
Yeah,
then not proceed any further up into that top six. He just then
yeah.
stayed sixth. You go, you cheeky so and so. But it's great to see him back on the podium. I like it a lot. I'm hoping that win is coming soon. Polo, what do you say? He just dispatched, the two cars ahead of him, Rosquist and Pato, with relative ease. It was a case of he didn't need to overtake Rosenquist. Happened in the pit stop, he's not going to say no to it, so take the advantage where you can. And Simpson, yeah, again, a driver that when he peaks, he peaks, and when he doesn't, he doesn't. But this is one of the weekends where he peaked. He just had an incredibly good qualifying session by his own standards, and only lost one position, which yeah, fine. Happy with that. Don't mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in my notes, I've got that Kiffin Simpson is the most random driver we have in the series right now, I feel like. In the fact that, 2 seasons ago, we were talking about this guy as like, back marker almost week in, week out. And then we talk about, oh, he needs to improve. And then we see him improve and we're like, oh. Okay. But then he still has those inconsistent weekends as well, where he's going to be towards the back.
He keeps improving just enough to satisfy us. But
Yes.
then whenever he does improve by a lot,
Mhm.
such as this weekend, he then, and I'm worried about him for Sonsio, drops back down to where he was just before. But then he maybe comes back up just after the Indy 500 and
Yeah.
it's a top five, and you go, I don't know how to measure him.
Yeah. He's definitely makes it fun to watch, if just for the storyline
Well,
alone.
you like rooting for him again. It's a Cayman driver. How many of those do we get in any of the motorsport series that we watch generally?
He's the one, I
And
think. Yeah.
well, exactly. He's going up against teammates of Scott Dixon, Alex Palou. That's going to be tough
Yeah.
for anyone. Never mind someone
Right.
who's probably not going to be on the same level as them by the end of his
Right.
career. And you like to see that yo-yoing and go. It's fun to root for someone where we don't quite know what he's capable of because I'm not sure anyone quite knows what he's capable of just yet because we've
Yeah.
not had enough time to find out definitively one way or the other.
Yeah. And I think, he is he's a driver that, based on some of these performances he's able to do with Chip Ganassi Racing. And there's been races where, he's beat one or both of his teammates, Alex Palou
Mm.
included. And so with that kind of performance, we don't think of him as a driver that's going to have a lot of longevity in this series. But
Probably going to be longer
this
than we think it's going to
this
be.
is a resume. He's building a resume that's going to put him at a lower tier team, possibly in a few years. You know, I don't think he is a long-term hire for Chip Ganassi, but come contract time, I wouldn't I wouldn't think it'd be out of the realm of possibility that Ed Carpenter Racing or
I was just
Rahal
thinking
Letterman
about
picks
that.
him up. Yeah,
Hmm.
to where
Solid pair of hands. The results he's doing now would be enough for a team like that to help
exactly.
build the consistency and push them forward. So yeah,
Yeah.
not a it's a bold prediction from Nate that we can circle back to in a year or two.
Yeah. But then also, Scott Dixon, running, on the podium. I think first podium of the year, that's going to be a big boost for him going into the month of May.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll say no more on that because I know what I want to happen for Scott Dixon ultimately, but I'm not going to say it because I'm going to commentate a curse at it.
Meyer Shank Racing. Obviously, when we've talked about Felix Rosenquist uh, putting his car on the pole and then finishing second. But the other
Sort
driver
of out of
we,
nowhere as well.
yeah,
It was a very
right.
kind
Yeah,
of welcome surprise for the proceedings. It was great to see. I wouldn't, I managed to not spoil qualifying for myself. I caught up to watch the highlights, and then Felix Rosenberg like, all right, why not? I guess.
yeah. Well, I, I think we could talk about qualifying for just a moment and the procedures for that. We had a change this weekend to how qualifying was done, um, where when we get to the fast six, the cars go out one at a time instead of
Hmm.
a 8-minute session where everybody goes out and gets a couple attempts.
We had
What
that
did you?
in Arlington as well for the first time, I think.
Yeah. What do you think of this format?
From a
Because it was announced
business
this
and
was
marketing perspective,
this was going to be our format for the rest of the season. So, uh,
yeah, yeah. From that perspective, I like it because it gives the teams, the drivers, the brands all a showcase. And if you get someone in there that you're not expecting, like Felix Rosenquist, it's a great sort of advert for them. Um, it also adds on a bit of extra pressure potentially, or a different bit of pressure because you sort of got a one lap and go situation, a little bit like the Indy 500. You have your allotted time slot. You go, you do it. If you don't do it, tough titties, you're gone.
yeah.
Um, but I also just like the traditional qualifying format of you've got to navigate the traffic around you. I suppose this way you have a pure qualifying in the sense of you don't have to worry about anything. You can just go out and try and get that elusive perfect lap. So I'm not dead set against it. I can see the benefits of it. Um, and I think I'm glad it's the case for just that element of the qualifying session. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think for something like the Indy 500, it warrants special treatment to the extreme. but for an ordinary Grand Prix, yeah, do it for the top six, have that extra pressure, have all the eyes on you one at a time. It
Yeah.
ramps up the anticipation maybe a little bit. So I'm not against it. You?
Yeah. I like it. The the draft pick for where you want to go out feels a little gimmicky here in the front end, but I think once we get a few more races where we get to see how that plays out, I think at Long Beach, drivers and teams were worried about brakes cooling down, engines cooling down, tires. A lot of those drivers in the top in the Fast Six went out on a used set, and so they were worried about tire temps. Um, and so I think they all of them with I think they did because Dixon was he the one that went out last? I can't remember
Second to
exactly.
last, I think.
Second to last. Okay. Um, but I forget who was it the fourth driver that went out that decided to go out last. I forget. I
I
can't remember off the top of
do
my
not
head
know.
but they uh, we're going to get to a track where it pays to go out last, and that
Mm,
fastest driver coming out of the session of 12 is going to pick that last spot. And so I think that's where we're going to start to see that kind of draft system for picking when you go out really start to take off, and it kind of make a little bit more sense on why they're doing it that way.
mm,
At this race, it just kind of felt like, oh, we qualified fat. We've got the fastest time. We're going to go out first, and then the next guy, we qualified second. We're going to go out second, and then third, we're in
yeah.
third. So I don't think it was as dramatic as what it is going to be at some point.
Very, very rarely is whenever anything like this is unveiled for the first time. It takes a bit of a vetting in process. And like you say, once
Yeah,
we've got a few more of these sessions under our belt, we'll hopefully see what the vision of it was and the impact that it can have. And I'm guessing they introduced it. So aside from the marketing business side of it, like I touched on, it should hopefully throw a bit of a curveball into proceedings, and maybe you get the driver like Rosenquist. Maybe he goes last somewhere and gets pole as a result, because
yeah.
it throws that into there and makes Alex Flow's day just a tad bit more difficult for once.
Somebody who did not qualify well or finish well would be his teammate Marcus Armstrong.
Horrible
Qualified third.
weekend for him.
Yeah, yeah, qualified 13th, so missed out on the round of 12, and then finished 24th. Just a a off weekend, I would hope for him. Definitely not the effort that that you'd want going into the month of May. I think he was just a little too rough with the curbs that we have at Long Beach. I have a feeling that part that brought out that one caution came off of his car because he was using every bit of the curbs on that course, and wouldn't be surprised if he was successful at ripping something off the bottom of the car.
Yeah, just trying to use as much of the racetrack to his advantage as possible and getting absolutely nothing for it in return. And with the exception of Max Ericsson, essentially finished last because Ericsson was out, despite what the timing tellers were saying. He classified as 25th of the finish, but he didn't finish, so it was Armstrong who finished last in that race, let's
Yeah,
face it. So,
yeah,
yeah, not the momentum he'll be wanting to carry into May. He'll be wanting to draw a very solid line underneath Long
yeah.
Beach and go, no more of that, please.
Ed Carpenter Racing had a really great weekend for Alexander Rossi. Good for
Mm.
him. Qualified 18th, finished in the top 10 in ninth place. Uh, this is a team
Overshadowed by
that
Nolan Siegel of all people, the biggest mover.
that's
I
true.
felt,
Yeah,
he didn't get
yeah,
any of the. I think he got a couple of comments from Will Buxton commentary when he did snuck into the top 10. But apart
yeah.
from that, you barely saw him aside from when Rasmussen and he and one other driver, I forget who, maybe Simpson early on, were having a bit of a ding dong coming around the final
Mhm.
turn. Where it all got a bit too close.
Yeah.
But again, you just didn't see anything of him. Like, he moved up 9 spots. Why are we not seeing any of these overtakes? Come
Right.
on.
Yeah. You mentioned Rasmussen qualified 16th, finished 15th, kind of a in and out weekend for him, I think. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that, it's a small team, but we've traditionally seen this team perform very well at the Indy 500. And so I think for Rossi coming in as an Indy 500 winner into the month of May, with a team that has always punched above its weight at the Speedway, I think,
And with Rasmussen being the oval specialist in the making that he's turning into
right.
potentially the most exciting team outside of the top three or four, depending on how we want to view things, um, that we'll be looking at coming into the whole month.
Well, and the other thing to remember is, once we get past Sonsio and we get to the big track, Ed Carpenter himself comes into the fold in a third
That's
car
true.
and
Very true.
also always performs well. So,
And I'm hoping that
uh,
we get to see Gary at the side of the track the whole time as well.
yeah. A.J. Foyt, Enterprises, Santino Ferrucci, really uh, nondescript weekend for him. Qualified 22nd, finished 18th, and Cal Collette, the only other driver to receive a penalty during the race. Coincidentally enough, during the pit stop, that his team member was hit by Will Power. Qualified 20th, finished 22nd.
Isn't it mad that with such a bright livery on Colette's car, you barely see any of him in any of the
Yeah,
shots whatsoever? You'd
yeah,
think just even from a distance, you go, oh, okay, there's Colette. I was wondering where he was. You don't even get that. They also announced that Toby Sauer is going to be a reserve driver, another name that you kind of have to go back into the history books and go, which one are
yeah,
you again?
yeah.
And again, I don't know why we're announcing reserve drivers 5 races into a season. Surely you'd have that stuff done
Yeah,
before you even go racing. They're not the only team guilty of it, but just
true.
confused me. And I thought that, yeah, I suppose you need to just throw that news out just for after the weekend because there's nothing to talk about in terms of your actual race weekend. It was just incredibly poor for both. I think Colette, you can make it a little bit of a waiver because it's still his rookie season. But Ferrucci, he's just been nowhere this season so far. He is
Yeah,
not having a good time of it. He needs to turn things around very soon.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they would drop him,
I highly
but
doubt it. Yeah.
you'd be intrigued to see who could replace that they would consider it at least to just get the
Um,
rumor mill going.
yeah, I
Maybe
think
that's where I come in.
Ferrucci is with this team long term. Um, I think
Hey, reserve driver. That still counts, right?
yeah, right, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Indy 500 is a very strong race for Ferrucci, and so that might be
Hope
a
I don't have to
weekend where
clip that and come back to you after that and go,
he's
you
able
were
to turn
saying?
around. Oh, P31. Huh? Okay. Um, Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Um, Unfortunate qualifying effort for your guy, Mr. Schumacher.
Yeah, yeah. It's he and Willpower, like I say, they seem to be on the same contract. We've got to have some kind of incident at least once a weekend. Practice one, the car just wasn't there for him. They had to take it back in and try and figure out what was going on with it. And then qualifying comes around and it sticks it in the wall. Very unfortunate. Glad he made up a few positions at least.
Yeah,
Only finished one position behind um, Foster, his teammate,
yeah,
which I felt like was an encouraging sign if you can just about call it that, because you'd hope that if Schumacher can do that and if Rahal can do what he did, then Foster would be able to be in maybe say 13th or 14th. Not necessarily asking for too much, but more progress in one spot, which ultimately you could contribute to just Ericsson not finishing. Um, Whereas at least with Schumacher, he made up a few more spots here and there. But Rahal, ah,
yeah.
yeah, two races
We're,
now back to back.
yeah, I would say
I'm
back
not
to
going to
back.
say anything, but I'm quite happy about it.
Are we
Sonsio's next.
are we seeing a resurgence in his long career? I mean, he's sitting 10th in the point standings right now.
I've now just got the desire that whenever he does hang up the helmet in IndyCar, he tail ends his career the same way he started it. He wins his last race.
That would be amazing. That would be something, wouldn't it? But yeah, I mean, going into Sonsio, we mentioned, one of his best tracks. And yeah, I think he doesn't have a win there, but he's right there on the cusp. I mean, I'd have to go back through the records and see, but I feel like he's got a pretty strong series of top fives and top tens in that race. So um, yeah, it'll be really interesting to
I've
see what he
definitely
can do in a
turned
couple
around on
weeks.
him more from years gone by.
Yeah.
I'm getting more on the Graham Rahal train.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Why not?
That's right. Dayle Coyne Racing, Dennis Hauger, not the best qualifying effort, starting 19th, but finishing 11th. I think was strong for
It was
him.
it, I was glad that he again would have been nice to see some overtakes. You got a
Mhm.
race where nothing's going on. We got three cars towards the back of the field that are making progress. Would have been nice to see some of that.
It's true.
I'm just glad that it wasn't the curse that we put on him at St. Petersburg. It appeared that that was his one moment of the season. He was going, okay, he qualifies, not brilliant, finishes a little bit higher up, but doesn't do much. And this time, 8 spots up, solid improvement. Happy. I'll take it.
Yeah.
He's what leading the rookie. I mean, he was already leading the rookie standings, I think,
He
but
was
this
leading
definitely
the rookie
helps
standings. Yeah. Yeah.
um, make that gulf to Collett and Schumacher a bit bigger. So he had a good weekend, I think, and I think he maximised.
Yeah. I think this was, it was good to see Hauger have this kind of weekend. This is a track that he was unfamiliar with. Um, obviously doesn't have any experience there. And to kind of just learn on the fly and almost stick it in the top 10, one spot away is uh, a great weekend for him. I
Mm.
think that'll um, really help boost confidence. We're going to a track that, um, he's never run on IndyCar on, but definitely has success in Indy Next at
Mm.
Sonsio. Um, so I don't think it's out of the question that we see him as a top 10 contender for the next
That
race.
would be nice. And
Yeah.
then again, sets him up nicely for the Indy 500, then just in a positive headspace
Yeah.
and approach. And we've seen rookies obviously last year do
Yeah.
pretty well when
Robert
it comes to
Schwartzman. Yeah.
qualifying. So
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Yeah. Robert Gro or uh, Grosjean.
His lesser known
Uh,
brother.
yeah. Roman Grosjean. There we go. Qualifying 23rd, finishing 21st. Just not the weekend that anybody wants, but I think it's one that he'll easily forget.
Yeah, I think most other people already have as well, so that helps
Yeah.
them on that front as well. They've also announced Dale Coyne that they'll have Jacob Abel back for the Indy 500, which purely from a sadistic point of view would be a little bit funny if he didn't qualify for a second year in a row after they make all the fanfare of bringing him back. Um, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, yeah, and this is so it's actually Able Racing. So it's his dad's
Mm.
team
Yeah,
that's put this car together, but I think it's mostly components from Dale Coyne. Um, I guess if
I
you're
was
going to
reading
have it
between the lines and just assuming it was the official
when,
first team.
when you put together a team, halfway into the season, um, when you go looking for technical alliances, you're not going to grab one of the top teams, I guess.
And it's easier to go back to the one you have a history with.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, with the addition of Jacob Abel to the field, I think we're sitting at 32 cars now for the 500. And from what I've read and seen, Catherine Legg is
Mm.
real close to inking a deal over at A.J Foyt. So I would imagine that's something we will hear about maybe even this week.
And at the
So
moment, with how those two drivers are doing, she could do better than both of them in the 500, which would be quite
it's
something.
possible. Yeah, she's had some magic there at the 500 in the past. So um, obviously 33 is the magic number we need to get to. I don't know if we're going
Mm.
to get any more. Primus still has their cars floating around and their engine leases are good through the end of the season. So we'll see. Maybe they
I wouldn't
pick
be
up.
surprised if we see someone else come along. I don't know who, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I'll keep my phone line open in case Prema needs to
I was
call
going to
and,
say,
and get a tire changer. Uh, So
Just the one. It's just you on all of them. Can be very long pit
uh,
stops.
yeah. But, I'm not saying I'm going to do an 8.4, but
I'll be amazed if you by yourself do an 8.4, to be quite frank. That's some
but
speed you've been training for.
yeah, that's what I've been training for all these years. Lastly, we've got Juncos Hollinger. Rinus VK qualifying 12th, finishing 13th. And then, of course, Stingray Rob rounding out the field, qualifying 24th, finishing 23rd.
What do you say?
Yeah. uh, I think this is exactly where this is exactly where I would have thought Rinus VK would have been. That's exactly where I think Stingray Rob would have been. So
Yeah, sometimes less is more on the commentary. There's just not much you can say about it.
I think, even though he lost a spot, I don't think this is this wasn't a race where gaining one or two spots or losing one or two spots is
No,
horrible. This is a driver that also performs really well at Sonsio. And so uh,
a lot of our
we
Long Beach
will
review is talking about the next race.
is talking about the next race. uh, but yeah, we'll see what happens in 18 days, 9 hours, and some change. Check local listings. Coming out of race number 5, Alex Palou did overtake Kirkwood in the point standings. Now it's got a 17-point lead. David Malukas on that consistency strategies moved up to third. Like we mentioned, he's 63 points behind, so he's a full race day behind uh, Palou. And then Pato Award is in fourth, and Christian Lundgaard stepped back a few spots back to fifth. Yeah, I don't know if we can look at a crystal ball and see what's going to happen in the month of May. We've got some interesting statistics I'll bring up here in just a moment. But
I think I'm just
who
glad
was,
that David Malukas is in there, in terms of just looking at the championship, just because I don't know
yeah,
what he's going to do, but he's just at least there. All the other drivers seem to just be
Mhm.
jostling around places. You've got that third place is
Mhm.
in a bit of a rotation, but
Yeah.
Malukas is consistently in the top 5 at least, so it's not surprising to see his name there. I just wish, drivers like the Andretti boys, the
Mhm.
um, even Pato, I feel like should be a bit more in there. Christian should be further up from where he is. Scott as well should be
Mhm.
getting back into that top 5 a bit more comfortably as well.
Yeah.
So it's just frustrating that they're already such a way behind the top 2.
Mhm.
17, 16 points, whatever it is to Kirkwood is that's all right in IndyCar. I don't
Mhm.
mind that. That's
Yeah.
doable. But then you look at 30, he's not ready. Give me a
Yeah.
few more races before we do this.
Who was your hot pick for the weekend?
Scott Dixon finally qualified well after how many times of me asking and then gets a podium. Can't
Yep.
say fairer than that. Iceman's
I
back.
I can't say that I wasn't surprised by that pick by you. Yeah, for me, go
I
ahead and
was
fashion.
surprised at your pick.
Yeah, go ahead and strap in, prepare for the ride because I'm picking Nolan Siegel.
As I said in the notes, clearly you're not taking your meds today and need to go and see a doctor.
And now I did put a caveat in there, like Hauger and Rossi also made compelling arguments for my hot driver of the weekend. So look,
You'll be telling me you like Thermal Club next. I don't know what to do with any of this.
no, that'll never happen. I think I would like Thermal Club better if they turn that into a vineyard. Just bulldoze
You'd
the
like it
track
better if
and
Nolan Siegel won the race, though. That's
maybe.
that's your ultimate fantasy.
uh, for me, not hot. This was, it talked about earlier. It's like it felt like the majority of the drivers and teams fell within a position or two of where they started. And so it's
Hmm.
kind of difficult to pick a not hot driver or team in this case. I'm going back to the well. And I'm picking Andretti Global. I feel like, in seasons past, they were kind of
Colton Herta is not there. You
always,
can stop choosing them.
I know. But yeah, just overall, I felt like this was the team that could have had the most to prove, but didn't.
think I get what you mean. Yeah, I think, like you say, it's tough to choose a team on this one, but it was just a combination of bad luck for Power, bad luck for Ericsson as well, but of a different kind, and then
Yeah,
Kirkwood didn't have a bad race by all
he
accounts,
didn't.
but
Yeah,
it just wasn't enough of a on display, not bad race for it to salvage the rest of the team from being chosen by you.
yeah, yeah. Who are you going with for not hot?
I say it wasn't easy to choose. It was easier for me to choose. I went for A.J Foyt because as a team and as a driver pairing, I expected better from everyone, and it just didn't deliver. So yeah, easy picking for me. I'm hoping they turn things around soon. It's obviously a team where there's a lot of great history behind it, but they're in a weird position at the moment. And I'm not saying it's all falling apart because Dave Maluka's left, but it's the argument's starting to make itself.
Right. Yeah. For hard luck, I think the two drivers that we've picked are pretty much. I think these are
If
the
I
two
hadn't gone with
drivers.
my
If
pick, I'd have
there's,
gone with yours.
yep, and same way. If I wanted to pick mine, I would have gone with what you picked. I'm going with Joseph Newgarden. He had
Hmm.
the strategy that very well should have or could have played out, just didn't hit right at when it needed to. And there was a lot of opportunities for it to hit right. It just didn't
What a
happen for him.
magical what if it could have been.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, if the strategy would have played out the way that the team was hoping, he could have won by 15 seconds over Alex Palou.
Which would have just been, we'd have been talking about Long Beach going, it's a classic race.
Yep,
You'll never see a performance like that again.
yep,
And instead, we got this and he finished 14th.
yep, yep. And you went with,
Phoenix Rosenquist.
yeah,
It seems harsh to
obviously,
say considering you finished in second, but when you were leading for the majority of the race, you started on pole and to get pipped by, just not even a slow pit stop. It was just a pit stop that was, that happens to the best of people. Say that except Polo because he seems to have an extraordinary amount of good luck during the races about when safety cars come out, when cautions come out, pit stops. Everything is so bulletproof about the operation that you can just kind of not go for a Sunday drive, but
yeah,
it feels like a Sunday drive. And just, I'll take that lead and I'll
yeah,
just keep it, I suppose. All right. And then he goes, I could have had my second race win.
yeah.
Alas, not today.
So we're heading into the month of May. We've got Sonsio
Mm,
coming up. Um, some some statistics for you. Um, this will be our 18th race at Sonsio um, on the road course at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Um, the Out of the 17 races we've had 8 different winners, which when you start scrolling through the names, we've definitely got some multiple winners in there. Um,
mm.
the uh, the names on the list and who has the multiple wins. Some of them are a little surprising. Some of them aren't. Obviously, Alex Palou has won the last 3 Sonsio Grand Prix. So
It doesn't bode
uh,
well, does it?
it doesn't until you start looking at the other drivers. Scott Dixon won
Hmm.
in one of the races in 2020, won again in 23. Um, Will Power has
Mm.
5 wins at this track. Uh, and it's a pretty big spread 15, 17, 18, 20, and 21. So, of course,
He's overdue for a new one, then.
overdue for a new one. But you also add in there Joseph Newgarden is a
Mm.
previous winner here. And then 2 names that you may not guess.
Rossi?
Rossi, very good. That is one. He won in 22. And then one other driver.
Pato?
Nope, Pat Ward's
Not
never won
Pato.
there.
No. Um, is it on the grid currently, the driver?
He is currently on the grid. These
Okay,
are current
okay.
drivers. Yeah,
That does help because I know you got me
yeah.
with that before. I'm learning the tricks of the trade here. Who else have we got that would have maybe won? I'm now just forgetting every driver that's on the list here. Someone further down the order, perhaps, but I'm trying to think of who
Quite a
we've
bit down the
got in
order.
there.
Yes.
Oh, jeez. Queen's VK's not won a race, has he?
Yes, he has. That's who it was.
Is it? There we go. I was trying to think of like, I know it's not Grosjean, it's none of the rookies. I'm
he,
just
he he
process of
won.
elimination.
We had two races in 2021, and he won one of them.
Fair play.
Very very popular win out there at the
I can
track.
imagine.
Uh, um, your favorite Colton Herta has a race victory there, and then Simon Pagenaud's won a few out there as our
I'm gonna
non-active
put the
drivers.
bet out
So
now and say that Sam Pagenaud is not gonna win next time out.
probably not. Yeah. Neither will Colton Herta.
I think he's more likely, but still probably not going
Yeah.
to.
Well, we did get the news this week that Colton Herta is definitively out for the month of May in IndyCar. We'd heard
One
some
looked at the
grumblings
calendar
that,
and went, "No, we're going to do this
yeah,
just to spite everyone over in
yep,
IndyCar."
yeah, and with the restructure of the schedule in F1 for this season, it moved F2 into some new calendar spots, and unfortunately, that
Good news
takes
is he has a
Colton.
home race. Bad news is Miami, and then he has to miss the Indy 500 because he'll be in Canada.
Right.
But then on the flip side, he gets to be in a Formula One car in Spain for the FP1 session. So he's getting a bit of yes, a bit of no, but yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this next race is it's going to be interesting because
He
of
says with
the
such a resigned sigh.
well, yes, because of the driver lineup we have of previous winners. There's so many
Hmm.
previous winners, and then there's also a handful of drivers that we know perform well at this track. Graham Rahal included. Um, that I want to say that we're going to see somebody other than Alex Palou win. But
It would be nice.
it would be nice. But with Alex Palou winning the last three races in this track, I'd
We
say,
might have to temper our expectations slightly.
yeah.
If you
Now I
could
think it's
tell
good.
you what, we'll finish on a positive note. If you can have a new race winner this year, who are you going for Sonsio?
As much as I would love to say David Malukas, I don't think that this is a track that he's going to win at. Um, a first time winner? Is that who we're?
First time this season.
Oh, just first time this season. Okay. Um,
We'll be somewhat realistic still, don't worry.
Joseph Newgarden, maybe?
He's won a race this season.
No, yeah. Duh. Oh, okay. Um, sorry. I'm still thinking of this track. And he won in 20. So yeah, he was already won there anyway.
You screwed
Um,
yourself either way with that.
hmm. Award doesn't have a win at the
Okay.
track. Sitting fourth in the points, I think that would
Hmm.
help aid. And maybe, he got kind of into the fold of the points race towards the end of last season when were everybody was shooting for second place. So if you can get a little bit closer at this point in the season, maybe that helps them get closer at the end of the season. So
I'll take that.
yeah, award. Yeah.
I was
What do
going
you
to go for
think?
Scotty Mack, get McLaughlin back in the
Yeah,
mix. That would be good. Get his consistency back up with a race win. See if he can enter the picture a bit. Again, I don't think like we were talking about just now, he hasn't won at this venue either. So that'd be a good one to get in
yeah,
there. And again, he's
that's
a
true.
slightly left field choice, a bit like Pato, weirdly. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah. Pato's one of those drivers though, you know, you hear old drivers in interviews talk about, you don't win the Indy 500. The Indy 500 chooses you as the winner.
Whereas
And
it's not choosing Pato, that's all I
it
know.
definitely has not chosen Pato. And so, yeah, I feel like this would be a little bit of a boost for him. I think it would probably be one of his more memorable victories if he was able to win.
At this rate, who wins the Indy 500 first? Pato Award with his luck of the Indy 500, or for pure controversy and randomness, Lewis Hamilton?
Oh, Lewis Hamilton will never run IndyCar. He'll never run IndyCar. Fernando Alonso, I could see coming back again.
Imagine if he won it before Pato did.
Oof. That'd be rough for Pato. That would be rough. So, well, we've got a few weeks before the next race. I'll be there live in person as I am every year. Can't wait. looking forward to it, and can't wait to come back and cover that race with everybody. Sonsio Grand Prix. We'll see everybody then.